Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Village of Round Lake Beach. I'm Mayor Rich Hill, and this is our Fireside Chat tonight. Today we have Dr. Mendoza with us from the Round Lake Area School District. Welcome, Dr. Mendoza.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
A little bit about Dr. Mendoza. Do you prefer Donn or Dr. Mendoza?
Donn,
Donn,
please.
okay. We'll be a little less formal tonight. On July 1st, 2018, Dr. Donn Mendoza transitioned into the role of Superintendent of the Round Lake Area School District 116. For the past 5 years, Dr. Mendoza served the greater Round Lake Area School community in District 116 in various roles, including Principal of the Round Lake Senior High School, Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Education, and Deputy Superintendent. During this time in Round Lake District 116, and through a comprehensive strategic planning process, the high school realized a significant increase in graduation rate, advanced placement enrollment, advanced placement pass rate, and a reduction in behavioral infractions. He also facilitated 30 community presentations in November of 2014 as part of a district effort which ultimately led to the passage of a $29 million referendum designed to facilitate building and programmatic enhancements for the Round Lake Senior High School. Prior to coming to Round Lake School District 116, Dr. Mendoza served in a variety of building and central office leadership roles in Community Unit School District number 300, Barrington School District 220, and Community Consolidated School District number 47. Dr. Mendoza holds a Bachelor of Arts in Elementary Education from Judson University, a Master of Arts of Educational Leadership from Aurora University, and Doctorate in Educational Leadership from Northern Illinois University. He and his wife Julie reside in Crystal Lake, and the two children, daughter Taylor and son Ryan. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
Any opening statements, or should I get right into it?
No, we can just get right into it.
So how long have you actually been with the Round Lake Area School District?
I'm in my 6th year.
6 years, wow, it goes by fast.
It does.
Boy. And how many students, staff, and schools are part of the district?
So we have roughly 7,000 students spread across 10 facilities, and 10 schools. We have more than 10 facilities, if you count our operations building. We have roughly 950 employees in the school district that encompass multiple employee groups.
So are you the largest employer in the Round Lake area?
One of the largest, I would say.
I know Baxter is very large, but they're kind of outside the boundaries of the villages. What are you seeing with the enrollment? Is it still increasing? Is it decreasing, staying pretty much the same?
It is. We are projected to remain relatively flat. We've seen some varying fluctuations. Interestingly, our high school right now has the largest enrollment it's had in 6 years. The overall district enrollment is decreasing slightly. When I say slightly, 50 students year over year, which is not much. But another thing that's happened is the mobility rate of the district has significantly decreased in the last 6 years. Mobility rate deals with transiency of families moving in, families moving out. I believe when I first started, that was roughly about a 14 or 15% rate. It's down to 8, which means that we have a lot of our families staying. I'd like to believe that's through, on some level, the improvements we've made with the school system. So
I would think so. I'm sure that the housing foreclosure that we had around Lake Beach, especially, we had a very serious one starting back in 2008, 2009.
Right.
And I know we've come a long way since then. We still have some issues, but not like we did. And with the improvements in the district at the same time, yeah, it's a win-win. And from my understanding, when the kids stay in an area longer like that, it's much better for the children to learn.
Well, so what we see is if our kids stay with us, they do very well in the school system. So specifically, in the back end of the high school experience, the kids that stay in our school district, a significant number of them end up graduating. So generally, the students that aren't successful with a lot of the supports that we have in place, those are kids that have maybe moved in after the start of their high school experience.
It always makes it more difficult, yes. Why is District 116 so special to you?
I would just say it's the community and the people. I mean, it really has less to do with bricks and mortar. The quality of a school district, the culture of a school district, the culture of a community is really about the people. And frankly, we have just unbelievable kids. Our kids are unique in that they're humble but driven. They're very respectful. I constantly hear about our kids in the community and the positive image and reflection they have. And they just do an excellent job of representing this community. So for me personally, it also reminds me of the district in which I grew up in. Very hardworking, very collaborative, I guess, and I would also say, if sports analogy, very tough. We have tough, gritty kids that work really, really hard. So.
This is a side note. Today we also held the Chamber of Commerce. They had their monthly meeting, and we had our scholarship winners all there from not only the Round Lake area school district, but surrounding school districts that might have residents that live in one of the Round Lake areas. So it's so great to see all those young students that just work so hard in school and achieve so much. And as you mentioned, they're so pleasant and so nice and humble about it.
Well, we had, Round Lake specifically, I think 9 scholarship winners this year, and it's my 6th year. I've attended, I believe, every chamber scholarship breakfast. That's the most we've ever had.
Wow, so. Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about the district's current financial position and how this has changed over the last decade?
So a lot of really, the primary steward of the district's resources is the Board of Education. So that is one of the main things that they do, is serve at the behest of the community and make very fiscally responsible decisions. The district is in excellent financial health right now. That's prior to my arrival under Dr. Collins' leadership, and we have many school board members that are currently on the board that have been on the board for some time. But we receive the highest state rating you can have for schools with regard to our finances. That's through a combination of looking at debt, cash reserves, and really overall fiscal responsibility. So I think technically it's called financial recognition. For the last 2 years, we've received the Meritorious Budget Award from the National Association of School Business Officials. There's only 18 school districts in the entire state that have received that award, and there are over 800 school districts in Illinois. We're one of 18 that got that. So we are thank you. I mean, again, really defer to the school board on that. They've made some really good decisions, and we historically, as a regular pattern, are very thoughtful with our budgeting process. So we're in very good fiscal shape.
That's good to hear.
Very healthy.
I know back in 2001 when I first became mayor, one of the first things myself and the other mayors did was talk to our state about actually taking over the school district. They were in such bad financial shape at that point. They were doing the tax anticipation warrants every year where they put like a short-term loan out, waiting for the taxes to come in for the next year that they would use for the current fiscal year.
Right.
And it was just a cycle that kept on getting worse and worse and worse. It was a bad thing to have happen in our community, but it was the only way to resolve the issue. And as you probably know the history, after many years, it started getting better. The board started taking back over, and
so the state finance authority had essentially financial control of the district, and the district was given local control back to when Dr. Collins took over. Yes. And I think one of the things, we've overcome that, but we never want to forget it.
Right.
We always want that little voice on our shoulder. I, for one, don't want to be the one responsible to bring us back to those times. So we're in very good health. We've improved a lot of things, and so it's a really good environment to be in right now.
Well, we're going to keep an eye on you, so.
It's good.
You have just begun a new project at Round Lake Area High School. Why did the board decide to fund this project, and what does this mean for the students and community of the Round Lake area?
So for the audience, we are working on a comprehensive high school athletic project, which has multiple components. But the driver of that really is not about sports necessarily. It's much broader than that. We have continued to, over the last 8 to 9 years, invest in ensuring that our kids have a comprehensive educational experience. From elementary school, to middle to high. We can certainly talk about fine arts as well. I could get into that. I think you may want to know about that too. But so for us, we've paid a lot of attention to our academic and instructional programs for the last several years. And we're at a point in time where we are, again, in the context of looking holistically about the environment we're providing our kids. This wasn't really we needed to do this. The facilities that are being addressed, it was time. The longer we wait, the more expensive it gets, the worse it gets. We don't feel like we have to have the best or the nicest, but we do have to have facilities that our kids can be proud of, that are safe and respectable for the community. So it is very exciting, and it's most exciting for our kids because they deserve what other kids, the very same things that other kids have. So very high level, it's about ensuring that we're providing a comprehensive, positive experience for our kids. So it was time to do it. The bleachers, I think, were put in the 60s. The press box was put in the 80s. And so it was just time to do it. We had to do it. The track was failing. There were drainage issues. We had fields with rocks in them. It became a safety issue. So it was just time. We had to do it.
What's like with anything else, you have a project like that, when your budget's tight, that's just thing to say, well, we'll do it next year, we'll do it next year, we'll do it next year, and eventually it catches up with you.
Right. And to be very candid, the dollars that we're using are taxpayer dollars that we've already collected, and it does not in any way compromise our financial recognition status, and really we're putting those dollars back into the educational process for our kids. So,
how has the district benefited from the new funding model that Springfield passed? This thing referred to as the evidence-based funding.
Yeah. So we are for the viewer. We have been dealing for years with prorated general state aid. For us. And I'm close to it, but a sizable percentage, well over half of our budget is state-driven. It's not the same always in every community. And so when we deal with prorated general state aid, when that compounds over time, it kind of doesn't really help us. So through a comprehensive state process over a 3-year period, they developed what I think is a more equitable system, that the state revenue that's generated is sent to districts that need it more, and that have not been funded as well as they should have. So we have definitely benefited from that for the last 2 years. I think we've received roughly $9 million in additional revenue, which sounds like a lot, but what I would also say is even after getting that revenue, we're still in the worst funded tier that we could be in. The goal for the state is to get every school to what they say is 90% adequate. Even after the state funding, we're at 57 still. Wow. So you have some districts that are 180% adequate, meaning that they're well above and beyond. So it's a really good model, but the problem isn't the model, it's the commitment to fund it and commit to it every year to get us to where we need to be. So we have a ways to go. We're definitely grateful for it. But we also know we need to spend it in the right areas.
And many of you do understand that the school districts the boundaries were drawn many, many years ago when the old farmer fields were in there. Over the years, villages have crossed those boundaries as they annexed the property. Shopping centers got built. It might be in one town, and people think the taxes go to the school with the same name, like over where the Walmart used to be, where Dominic's and Walmart were, where Myers is right now. That whole section is actually in the Grays Lake Area School District, even though it's part of Round Lake Beach.
Right.
And that's very confusing to people. They think, well, where's all those taxes going? Well, they're going to a different school district. That's what's happening to them. And that's one of the reasons the Round Lake Area School District is so underfunded, is they have a small footprint that's almost all bedroom community.
Right. In a relative sense, we do not have a lot of commercial development from which we benefit.
And that's where a lot of the property taxes come from in most of the well-funded communities.
Right.
They have either big industrial parks or big office parks or this Hawthorne Mall, things like that they can draw upon for that property tax and still not soak the residents so they can afford to live there.
Right.
What challenges is the school district currently facing as it relates to the state mandates? We love mandates too. They're just great, aren't they?
Well, that is, I think there's been a theme, there's been a theme the last few years to reduce the number of unfunded mandates at the legislative level. But what we're seeing, and many of you know this, is there has been a sizable turnover in the General Assembly in the last election. I believe there were over 30 to 40 new senators and House reps. And it is and a lot of, in the chambers are super majorities, and you also have, so you have alignment between both chambers and the governor now. So what we're starting to see a little bit is more bills filed than we've ever seen. Yeah. And so for us, it's about staying engaged in the legislative process, which I feel like we are doing a great job. We have two of the reps that work with us closely. We have direct connections with Representative Yingling, Senator Bush, and we're constantly interacting with them, because a lot of times at the General Assembly level, they don't really understand. It seems very simple when you look at the language of the bill, but there's always a gap between theory and practical application.
And we've seen a lot of unintended consequences.
Exactly. So for us, it's about telling our story about how the unfunded mandate impacts us. Mm-hmm. And so we have and will continue to be engaged in that.
Well, good luck. I know for years the Illinois Municipal League has been fighting unfunded mandates, and we've made very little headway on that because they just want to do what they want to do, and it's very frustrating for us.
Right.
It costs our residents a lot of money, but we shouldn't have to spend only because they want to see it done. How is the Round Lake Area School District adapting to the needs of future potential employers? You've seen a lot lately about, is college really necessary? Should we go back to shop classes?
So I think our whole goal is to ensure, so any graduating student in our high school should be able to walk through any door that's open to them. That's kind of like the philosophy. So if we have students that want to go to college, I said this to our board president and to the full board before, my son could get more in Round Lake High School than he could where I live in terms of a comprehensive experience. There's more internship opportunities, there's more non-traditional pathways that we offer. Our kids leave, if they want to go to college, they go to some of the best colleges in the United States out of Round Lake. But we also know that we have invested heavily in Tech Campus, which is on the College of Lake County's property. That is for students who might be interested in non-college pathways like culinary arts and cosmetology. I know they have really good programs up there, EMT, firefighting. Right. Engineering, non-college bound engineering, manufacturing. So we continue to open those doors. We also have and continue to work on looking at building partnerships with communities, community partners and industries to facilitate internships. Many of you may not even know that we are, at the high school, we have the ability to provide a flexible schedule to students. So students don't have to actually come from 7:50 to 3:15. The benefit of that is as we continue to open internship opportunities for our kids, they might be able to leave during the school day and actually go get practical work experience and get credit for it. Mm-hmm. So all those things are in place, and now it's about building upon them.
There's so many different variables you need to always keep in mind. All the kids, as you well know more than I do, the kids are all so different. You can't just, they're not cookie cutter for each of them. You have to have a different career path, different opportunities, and it sounds like you guys are doing just that.
Yeah, and we want paths for kids, even non-college bound paths where kids can sustain and support themselves and raise a family, mm-hmm. and actually give back, contribute economically to the community that we're a part of. So I think you're absolutely right. We don't force kids into any one path. We want to open up doors for them and then let them decide what fits for them, and then make sure that they're able to be successful with that.
Mm-hmm. How is the school district preparing or responding to the growing concerns over the pensions in Illinois?
So the pension is really the elephant in the room. I think it is the single greatest consumer of the state's revenue right now. And we, as a local school district, one of the things that is being discussed, it hasn't gained any traction, but I keep hearing about it, is a pension shift. If that happens, that would be significant for us, because what that essentially means is some of the state obligations would be shifted to the local school district, and we would end up having to pay for that. Mm-hmm. And again, the pie is only so big, and so if we end up having to do that, we just might have to make it just becomes a factor in our priorities. Right now the net impact for us isn't really any different than it's been the past few years. But what I think is coming, again, nobody has said this to me, but I know there's talk with a pension shift, and that has us all concerned.
Do you know why they're trying to kind of looking at that? Is it just for the state budget?
Yeah, it's the state budget, and like I said before, right now the pension obligation consumes an extremely large portion of every dollar in revenue generated by the state. A significant portion of that is used to make the pension payment. So, like I said, there's only so much revenue even at the state level, and we can't do all the things we want to do with all of these expectations. So.
Can you briefly explain the role of the union and the district's relationship with the Education Association of Round Lake?
This is my 24th year in education. Without a doubt, this is the most cooperative, supportive education association that I've ever worked with. They are very, very strong. They hold us accountable. But what I would also say is we start always with a shared interest in doing right by our students. They want to see our students succeed, we want to. And if we can start there, then really it's just about working out the details. So I think our association and its members, they're mission critical for doing right by the kids in Round Lake. I also believe the staff is the single most important resource that any school district has. We can't get anything done if we don't have our staff on board. So we have a fantastic association. We're constantly talking and collaborating and working through issues together, but it's always with the same starting point. We want to make sure we're doing right by the kids in the school district.
Oh, great. Is a school-based health center making a difference in the Round Lake area school community?
We have a community-based health center. It is run by the Lake County Health Department.
How long ago did that open? Do you remember?
5 years, roughly.
Wow.
It's been open 5 years, and it was started with funding from the Healthcare Foundation of Lake County, and we're at a point where it's virtually self-sustaining, meaning we have, I think the number, to the point where we don't need any additional funding from the foundation. We have over 3,000 interactions. We had over 3,000 visits last year, basically. Wow. We provide in that healthcare center, which is attached to the high school, we provide physicals, immunizations. There's a nurse practitioner there. So if students are ill, they can get medication. We also do mental health support in there. We have a psychiatrist on staff, social worker. It's also open to not just high school students, it's open to students in the entire Round Lake School District and staff members in the entire Round Lake School District. So it has truly been a benefit to us in health wellness, which is a contributing factor to performance. So.
If you had to hazard a guess, the percentage of people coming from outside the high school, do you think it'd be like 5% or 10%?
I don't really have a significant number. I would say over half is high school related. But that would be normal because if you think of physicals sure. For athletics, the high school has 2,300 students and a significant number of them participate in athletics and activities. So. But it's been a blessing for us in the district.
It's clear that Round Lake Area School District has an outstanding fine arts program. You mentioned that earlier.
We do.
What do you attribute this to?
Well, there's two things. It's a will and a commitment. So we had the will to, again, I keep talking about this comprehensive experience in Round Lake. So what is the Round Lake experience? We want it to be comprehensive. Our kids are ridiculously talented in fine arts, and so our school board has continued to support the arts, both from their decision making and financially, and it really starts with the adults in the system wanting to grow the program, but then you have to support it, right? We have made sizable purchases in fine arts related to choir and robes and band instruments and staff. We've seen that grow exponentially. We have also expanded fine arts opportunities in our elementary schools because, when you start talking about a school district, I'm grateful to be working in a unit district because it's the full K-12 experience. So really, if you want to build great quality on the back end, you have to start with the young ones, our elementary age students. So we doubled the amount of time they were spending in art in the last few years. We've expanded music opportunities for our students. We have middle school, one of our middle school choirs has, I think it's over 200 kids in it. The other middle schools has doubled in the last 2 years. So, but I would also say that would never happen if we didn't have quality teachers. That actually is probably the primary driver, is we have these great people who connect with kids, and when you connect with kids, it makes it exciting for them. And so it is not just in your traditional art, music, band. It's, the high school has an unbelievable graphic arts program, digital arts program. When you walk into the high school and you look left, you see a bunch of mugs and attire, and all of that design was done by our kids, and we sell a lot of those items on an e-commerce site that's part of our program. So yeah, it is through a confluence of things, but really hats off to our school board for continuing to make the investment in that.
Now you have very strong fine arts boosters also out there doing a lot for the kids.
Yeah, I would just say in general, we have just amazing families who support our kids through athletics boosters, fine arts boosters. Our fine arts boosters run these unbelievable events that highlight the talents of our kids, but also generate sizable revenue. We also run a talent expo. We had one last night. In my humble opinion, it's the best one we've ever had. That generates, so really it's not just about generating the revenue, it's about sending a message that it's important. We show what's important to us by how we spend our time. So if we're spending time with fine arts, then we know that's important to us. If we're investing resources in it, it's important to us. So it's something that I know will continue to happen in the school district.
Yeah.
One last thing I would say, because this is really exciting. We have our high school athletic conference. There's a focus on the arts in the conference too, and we are constantly being told by the other schools how wonderful our art is. There's an art festival that's just all the local community high schools, and we're doing a lot of things that you don't really see typically in a high school level. So
nice. You had mentioned that last night you had the talent contest. Actually, it was right here in this building, wasn't it? Yeah. I know our
and thank
chief
you
was
for
involved.
Using the facility.
Yeah, we're all partners. We all serve the same residents, so
Right.
it's great that we can all do that. I'm glad we have the facility available. It's nice to get them out to school a little bit, a new facility.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Tends to perk them up.
It does.
But I know the chief was very involved in the talent contest last night.
He was an excellent judge. Yeah. He was an excellent job. He did a fantastic job.
The Round Lake Area School District 116 has made some great connections with local realtors. Why has this been a strong focus?
Well, because I think it's been a focus because we have to change the narrative. I think what I always say is sometimes it takes twice as long to undo something that may not have been as positive. And so for us, it's about making connections with our realtors. We know we want this to be a destination school district. We want this to be it is a place where a family can come here and have their kids thrive in our school system. But we also have to control the messaging. So we have been very intentional about reaching out to realtors. Our director of public relations, Heather's here. She's been amazing in that area. And so it's really about inviting people out to see what we are, what we believe, what we're offering our kids, because those are the people that will be interfacing with people considering moving to this community. So it's been, it's something I think we'll continue to do on a reoccurring basis, but it's been a very positive thing. And frankly, we've gotten tremendously positive feedback from the realtors, and on many occasions just surprised. A lot of the people don't realize that we're doing all of the innovative things that we are.
Yeah, misconceptions are hard to change. Sometimes they're passed on from generation to generation even. I know when I first moved to Round Lake Beach in 1977, they had a very poor notion out there as far as what Round Lake Beach was, and I found it not to be that way at all. And it's so hard to tell other people, that friends of mine for years, oh no, that's not how it is. There used to be billboards up on 94 saying housing development, Lake Villa schools,
Right.
because they tried to not keep people out of the Round Lake Area School District. It's a shame that happened, and I hope as we keep on moving forward, we can get past that point.
Yeah, and we're not going to feel sorry for ourselves at all. I just feel like if you don't control the message, people create their own message. And so that's why we are constantly hammering home and telling our story about the things that we're doing for the kids in this community.
Yeah. Something similar, we have a lot of meetings here in this facility for elected officials. The same purpose, to bring them to the Round Lake area. A lot of them only have heard about it or seen it 30 years ago, and they come in there really shocked, as you said, by what the whole Round Lake area really is. And they had a completely different notion, and it's so nice to turn them around like that. And then they hopefully go back and share that with their residents.
Well, and they're the key communicators. So if you can, turn over one, maybe they tell 10, and so it's just. But it's got to be consistent, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, we have to keep on working together on that.
Absolutely.
How can community members stay up to speed on all the great things occurring at Round Lake area schools?
Well, several ways. We have 2 board meetings a month, and the exception to that would be the summer months. But we have we absolutely believe in transparency. Every single board doc that we're discussing in open session is made available to the public, and our packets are very detailed, very thorough, so they certainly can come there. We have a tremendous website that has financial information on there, staffing information on there, things that are happening in the school district. We're very active on Facebook. That is something we use regularly. We have a Twitter account. And if they want, they can visit. We have an open door policy. I can't tell you the number of times we, very short order, have arranged for visits for community members that want a tour. So we have an open door and we want to welcome people in. And so it's about communicating with people often, regularly, and through various means. And I feel like we do that.
Do you offer any opportunities for volunteering at the school?
So say that again.
Any opportunities for the residents to volunteer?
Oh, yes. Yes. So the answer is yes. We heard recently about boosters and fine arts, but we also have, we have 10 schools. Anybody's interested in doing that, they literally have to pick up the phone and contact me, contact our director of engagement. They could work with a principal. Okay. And we have so many community partners. At the beginning, I think it was in November, we had our second community partner breakfast. It was held at the high school, and we have between 80 and 100 community partners that come out and in some way volunteer and support the schools through a variety of means. It was just a really nice way to recognize those that are helping with what we're doing for our students.
That goes a long way. People always want the monetary, but the little recognition, a little thank you goes a long way with people.
Yeah, and it was really nice because what every community partner got is a book with a book plate in it that matched the certificate, recognizing them, and those books end up going to the schools in which the schools that they support. So over time, we'll build a little library of book plate books.
Very nice.
So yeah.
Good thought, good thought. What accomplishments are you most proud of during your tenure with the Round Lake Area School District?
So it's really not one thing. It's, what I try to be, first of all, it is I'm very proud of the collective effort. We're a big operation. We have 7,000 students, 900 employees. We're moving a battleship. You can't do that with a specific group of people or one employee. So I think the collective effort of the school district, including the parents, but I can't really point to one individual accomplishment. What I try to gauge success at, is it better now than it was before? That's a really simple question. and you can't really measure that on like a school report card or in a budget or an audit report. It's really about what does the picture look like. So I'm just humbled and grateful and proud that we have, we're doing great things for kids in our school district. And I just think it's the continued effort to moving the needle and continuing to look at what's next. We can't relax. The second we relax, we're going to leave our kids behind. So we are, in my humble opinion, one of the most innovative school districts that you're going to find with what we're doing instructionally, how we think, how we support kids, things we're willing to do. So I just think it's the constant movement of getting better, the improvement process. And give credit to the school board and the employees and the community. It's really about a lot of people. So,
yeah. Everyone has to play a role in that. You're right.
Yeah.
One thing that's come several times over the years, the Hispanic community has been very large in the Roanoke area here, and I've heard several different theories as far as it takes one generation or two generations to get through the English language as a second language. Do you have any insight on that?
Well, I mean, we are a diverse nation, and so we have, I know I keep saying we have great and best, but we have the highest performing bilingual parent advisory council that I've ever seen. We have a parent group that meets regularly. There are bilingual families, they're leaders in the community. They run parent universities and workshops and trainings. We have reserved a set spot for them on our board agenda once a month, so they are constantly updating the board on the exciting things they're doing. So for us, it's about continuing to bring, just connecting with what the needs are of the community. Obviously, we have a high percentage of second language learners, but there's best practice with curriculum with how we support those students. And for us, we do want those students to be fluent in two languages when they leave, which is why we have a biliteracy program. So we have our students at the high school can graduate with a state certificate on the diploma that verifies they're either biliterate or triliterate based upon how they perform in school. So that's kind of the expectation at the back end, and we build our whole curriculum to get them there. So it's something to celebrate. So
that's something I haven't heard before, that they actually it shows differently on their diploma.
Yeah, because we're innovative, like we talked about.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's the certificate of biliteracy, and it's something that the state offered. We got right on it. We've been doing it for, I think, 3 or 4 years now.
Nice.
And that number's gone up every single year. We expect it to continue to go up.
Does it help open more doors for colleges and so forth?
That's precisely the point. It helps with college applications. It helps with employers.
Oh, yes.
Also, so it's something that, they can definitely kind of hold up and say, I have this. It has significant meaning.
Great. Well, that was actually my last questions on here. Is there anything else you would like to discuss that I haven't touched on?
No, you asked some really good comprehensive questions.
I had good help putting them together.
Yeah, right. No, I just want to humbly thank you, and again, we have members of our school board here. I want to thank them, and it's a really great place to be, to work. I would even argue to raise a family. So I'm happy to answer any questions from anybody else if there are any.
Well, I guess this time we can open up the questions in the audience. We have a microphone back here. We can pass around if anyone has a question.
Why don't you live in this district?
Well,
I mean, if you're going to go talk to realtors, why aren't you living here?
No, that's actually a really great question.
Kind of curious.
Yeah, no, I have an answer. It's family related. I have a daughter's in college. My son is about a year or two away from graduating high school.
And moving around like high school.
Yeah, but it's I don't want to uproot him right now. It's something my wife and I have actually talked about, but that won't happen until after he's gone. I'm not going to move him in the middle of his high school experience. I'm guessing many other families probably wouldn't want to do that either.
I know. My daughter graduated from Round High School, and you were talking about the bilingual thing. She took 4 years of Spanish, which was pretty. I mean, she passed. She was getting A's. She went to the University of Loyola in Chicago,
Yep.
and failed their Spanish test. Now, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I can't really respond to how Loyola grades. What
She
I would-
failed it after
Yeah.
4 years.
So what I would say is, in order to become, to be biliterate, our students have to pass an ACTFL exam, which is the National Spanish Exam, or they have to score a 3, 4, or 5 on their AP Spanish Lang exam. So, so here's what I would say though, it's very rigorous, and you know, that's why just because you can speak a language doesn't mean you get the biliterate certificate. You have to be able to, right, yeah. So we're trying to improve in that area.
I mean, 4 years you think she passed.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, you know, the college level is definitely different.
I'm thinking as a parent, what did she learn?
Yeah, sure.
She didn't pass.
Yeah, I understand.
Other questions? I know my two oldest kids went to Round Lake back in the 90s, and they actually graduated in the 90s, and things changed a lot from when I first moved to the Round Lake area, and they went through high school, and then you know, in 95 they had the teacher strike, which was pretty decimating for the whole community, and I think it's healed very well since that point. And I went through highs and lows, and I think you're definitely on a high right now, and hopefully you're going to maintain that high.
Yeah, it's just important we don't get comfortable. It's I like to call it being uncomfortable in a healthy way, because we have to keep urgency. We have to keep the little chip on our shoulder about let's keep getting better. It's just something that I'm constantly thinking about. I think sometimes maybe we don't celebrate enough, but I think there's a balance there. We just need to keep working to get better and evolve as a school system. So.
Well, education, like everything else, constantly improves and keeps on changing. Technology is just from one day to the next. There's technological changes out there that are so hard to keep up with. I'm sure that impacts the schools tremendously in the learning.
Oh yeah, and that's another area where I feel like we're a leader. Our innovative technology practices. Our high school is 1-to-1. Every single student in the high school has an iPad for instructional reasons. A lot of it is done through blended approach. Next year, our plan is to have the middle schools with 1-to-1, and the year after our elementary. So in 2 years, every student will have access to technology, and they need it. Yeah. That's what the world is that's waiting for them when they leave our doors. And so, but I would say it's not, the technology is a tool. It has to be used properly. So just like a textbook is a tool, just like, a graphing calculator is a tool, the tech is really a tool. So it's not just about the tech, it's how it's being used in the classroom.
Yeah, just getting the kids to use things like that, to learn what a keyboard is, how a computer operates, that those fundamental basic learning skills are so important nowadays that people my generation didn't have those.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's an evolution, right? That's
Yes.
something that we have to, and technology is changing so fast, so we just have to keep up.
Very much. Any other questions? Aaron?
You spoke about helping kids, and they can go pretty much anywhere when they finish your school, but just more specifically, how do you bridge the gap from there to college? Is there any unique programs
So
besides
that's-
the literacy? You
that
touched
is-
on that a little bit.
No, but that is a great question. So here's what I'm going to be very respectful and transparent, but also direct. So if you look at college persistence rates, they're terrible. They're not good. So what I always say is, okay, so we get our kids at Round Lake High School, and we do a really good job of providing wraparound support for them to help navigate the experience. And like I said before, so our kids finish. What I think is, and there is a newly, it's been in existence about 2 years. It's very active in Lake County, but there's an organization that has been funded through several of the county's foundations that has to do with college persistence. How do we keep kids successful once they leave high school and get to college? And so what I would say is, for us, we do a lot of things for our kids that prepare them for the next level. Like, for example, we have 5-year plans. Every freshman that goes around Lake High School is put on a 5-year plan. What that means is they select a career pathway. They're not locked in. The fifth year, though, is what do they want to do when they leave? Is that college? Is it trade school? Is whatever. We have a college and career counselor on staff at Round Lake High School that supports kids 6 through 12. They work with high school kids, but also our middle school kids. Our middle school kids are taking college visits now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so what I would argue is the persistence issue has less to do with us not preparing them properly, but I don't think our kids are provided with enough support when they leave.
Right.
And so, but what happens is, and this is normal, and I want you to know, I consider our college partners fantastic, but when our kids leave as 18-year-olds, they still need to be transitioned into that college setting. You can't just pull all the support away and say, go, and just navigate. It's a different world. So what I would argue is that the issue is a combination, but I think there needs to be more of an effort to prepare them once they get to college. We do shadowing experiences, we provide flexible scheduling, we're incorporating technology, we have career fairs at the high school, all those things, but it's still not going to replicate once they get there. So it's something that, like if you look at the national data, so for example, a college graduation rate of 70% is considered really good, really good. In high school, awful. So there's a disconnect there. So I think it in part is this whole concept of kids advocating for themselves, but they're still not adults yet, right? You got to still transition. That's just that's more of a soapbox thing for me. It's what I believe based on my experience.
Yeah. Well, that's great, and that answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have another question? Well, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Dr. Mendoza. Just to put on your calendar here, my next Fireside Chat will be on May 23rd at 6 p.m. We do our meet and greet. At 6:30 we begin the show. We're going to have the North Chicago Mayor, Leon Rockingham, is going to join us. Leon is currently the Mayor's Council, and he helps working with the funding that we get from the feds and how to divvy it up among different communities for our major road arterials that run through our communities. He's been a great help to the village of Round Lake Beach, and we'll talk more about that when he's here. And Leon's also the incoming president of the Illinois Municipal League. He'll be president in September, he'll be sworn in. So we're looking forward to that also, having a Lake County mayor as a president of the whole league. So again, thank you, Dr. Mendoza. I have a village pin here. Hope you will wear it
I'm going to run out of room. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.